Welcome to Empower Education. I'm Ivy Wilcher, educator, mentor, mother, and woman who moves through life with faith and purpose. This podcast is a space where we can unpack the images, issues, and lived experiences that shape how we see ourselves and how the world sees us. Today, we're shifting focus a little bit to something real and personal: gun violence and how it affects our youth. We see the headlines, and there's a deeper story there to tell. There are lives behind those statistics, futures that never get to grow up. And for me, this isn't just a topic, it's personal. 3 years ago, I lost my brother Anthony Long to gun violence, and I've been carrying that grief with purpose ever since. If you turn on the news or scroll social media, gun violence is everywhere. But the way it's being portrayed, it often feels like a spectacle, and it shows up in mugshots, flashing police lights, and endless crime footage. But where are the stories of the people left behind? The kids who can't focus in school because they lost a cousin last night, the mothers who can't sleep, and the brothers who are still waiting for justice. Media often shows us the crime scene, but not the consequences, and definitely not the context. When it comes to black youth, we're either feared or forgotten. That leaves a gap in how we talk about healing, hope, and prevention. Our youth are living through this every single day. Some of them have lost friends due to gun violence before they even hit high school. Some can describe the sound of gunshots better than they can even describe joy. And that's what scares me the most. Many have grown numb to it. I work with students who carry trauma quietly. And what media doesn't show is how violence settles into the body like a second skin. It affects how they learn, how they love, and how they see their own future. That matters. And yet, media rarely shows us these young people as full humans. Where is the coverage of their resilience, their poetry, their questions, and even their potential? 3 years ago, my brother Anthony Long was murdered to gun violence. That changed my life forever. He was more than a statistic. He was a son, a brother, a father, and part of my life. There was no headlines that captured who Anthony really is. And even though the world kept moving, something in me stood still. Grief doesn't go away, but it can give you a lens. It can make you see things clearly, and the things that's broken and what we have to do to fight to fix it. Talking about gun violence isn't easy, but if I stay silent, I let the media tell the stories their way. And I need my brother Anthony's story to be more than just a tragic ending. I need it to be a reason for change. Gun violence is a public health crisis, not just a news headline, but media coverage tends to highlight the problem without showing any pathway forward. And more often than not, it shows us the same neighborhoods, same faces, and same cycle without any context. We need more space for stories that center healing, for the youth leading peace walks, and for the churches that are leading prayer walks, for the families turning pain into purpose, for educators, faith leaders, and mentors doing all the work off camera. And we need media to show that gun violence isn't just a black issue, it's a systematic one. And it's rooted in poverty, access, inequity, and neglect. And we tell the whole truth. We give ourselves more ways to heal when we do that. The truth showed up recently at Prairie State Community College in Chicago Heights, Illinois. I attended an event called PSC Wear Orange. We gathered in order to honor the lives of those lost, and we supported prevention work within the community. Families got a chance to raise balloons and represent the lives that were taken from them. What struck me the most was seeing people from all generations standing in solidarity, wearing orange, lifting prayers, and sharing the names of their loved ones who they lost due to gun violence. It reminded me that mourning can be an act of movement, and that the community care is its own kind of resistance. And it doesn't stop there. Following the balloon release, just the following week after that, there was a summit that provided families and community members across the Southland, what we call the South suburbs of Illinois here in the Midwest, with direct access to healing resources, from mental health services and grief counseling to employment training and youth programs. It showed me what it means to move from remembrance to real action. Currently, I'm taking a media course because I'm working to become a dual credit instructor where high school students can take college classes while in high school in order to shave down the cost of paying for a college education, where they can knock out some of those prereqs well before they get to college. And in this media class, we talked a lot about how narratives shape public perception. And when it comes to gun violence, the dominant narrative too often stops at the violence. It doesn't go any deeper. But real change happens when we start sharing the full picture, the hurt and the hope. And part of that whole truth means naming the intersections, how race, poverty, gender, and age collide. The media doesn't just show violence, it shows who they think the violence belongs to. Black boys are criminalized, black girls are hypersexualized or ignored, and poor neighborhoods are treated like war zones. And youth, especially youth with disabilities or any kind of mental health need, are rarely seen as needing protection. That's intersectionality. It's not just about one issue at a time, it's about how all these identities overlap and shape how people experience the world and how the world responds to them. In one of the articles we read for the class by Kimberly Crenshaw, she's a law professor and civil rights activist. She reminded us that without an intersectional lens, media narratives will always miss the mark because they reduce people to one label. But no one I ever met is just one thing. Lately, I've seen the efforts by public figures like President Donald Trump trying to push back against inclusive education and erase African American history and culture from major institutions. Moves like these aren't just political ones, they're personal because when we erase their stories, we erase the people who lived them and we reinforce the same narrow narratives that we're already fighting. Kimberly Crenshaw has long advocated for bringing those erased perspectives back into the conversation. And her work reminds me and reminds all of us that intersectionality is a tool to challenge this kind of erasure, right? That's why telling our full stories matters so deeply. And this doesn't just show up in the news, it shows up in TV and film too. Look at his shows like Power, created by rapper and producer 50 Cent, or Raising Kanan and BMF. These stories get praised for being real and gritty, and in many ways, they do reflect real struggles. They touch on drug culture, family dynamics, mental health crisis, poverty, power, and survival. But too often, they center the same type of story: trauma, violence, betrayal, and hustling. And when that's all we see, it becomes the default narrative for Black life. There's rarely room for softness, for joy, for everyday excellence. Where are the stories of healing after the violence, of rebuilding communities, of youth finding a way out without having to fall in one first? These shows, while compelling, can be limiting when they're the only ones getting the green light. We need a wider lens because our communities are full of stories that don't make it to the screen. And if the media only shows the pain, the world starts believing that pain is all we are. So, what do we do with this grief, this fear, with this urgency? Well, tell the truth, we honor the lives lost by changing the conversation. We push back when media reduces our people to numbers. We advocate for our youth, not just as students, but as survivors. And we seek to, to know more and we ask deeper questions. What we safely look like, what would safety look like if we truly care for our communities? For me, I speak my brother's name, Anthony Long. And I show up for my students and I look for God in the midst of grief. And when I work a part of being, I work hard to be a part of that healing. I want to thank you guys for listening to Empower Education. If you lost someone to gun violence, my heart is with you. My prayers are with you. You are not alone. And your story matters. Let's keep talking, let's keep working, and let's keep on believing in something better. Until next time, I'm Ivy Wilcher. Be safe, be well, and be heard.